Hi, my name's Trish, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Reckoning Toolkit. I remember when I moved into my first apartment, one of the gifts that I got was a toolbox. And I was so excited to open my toolbox, and when I opened it, I found a hammer and a screwdriver. Just 2 tools. But at the time, I thought that would be enough, because most of the time when I saw my parents fixing things, they were using either a hammer or a screwdriver. Well, what I came to realize is just 2 tools weren't really enough for all of the things that started happening or all of the things that I needed tools for. So slowly over time, I started gathering more and more tools and more nails and other things that started helping fill out my toolbox and helped me be more prepared for things that either went wrong or needed to be fixed in my apartment. That's the idea that we have behind our Reckoning Toolkit as well. Now, your toolkit for Reckoning isn't a bug box with different tangible tools in it. Instead, your Reckoning Toolkit is a collection of strategies, of websites, of resources, places that you can go or things that you can try to help make sure that your students are developing class during your Reckoning initiative. If you take a look in your sketchbook, there's a section called Toolkit. This is the area where we hope you will start gathering and collecting the tools that you use during your Reckoning initiative. We've started you off with several tools already. Now, what are tools for? Let me give you an example. If you start out at your time with your kids and you go in and you have your entire script prepared and you're looking at a room full of 20 students, and all of a sudden you realize, I have to get the attention of all 20 of these students so that we can begin our time together today. That is the perfect time to use one of the tools in your toolkit. If you take a look, one of the tools that we've given you is using a nonverbal cue. Nonverbal cues are lots of different ways that you can get you the attention of your students or have your students do something without using a word. For example, one of the tools that we've had a lot of success with using is just holding our hand up. So a leader will come up to the front of the room, hold their hand up, and that cues the students to be quiet and to take a look at the leader. When everybody's eyes are on the leader, that's when you get started. So that's one way of using a tool in your toolkit. Now, what I would encourage you to do is to make notes and write down all the different types of tools you use. Tools might work, and sometimes they may not. Now, the funny thing about kids is sometimes one tool will work great for one group of kids and another tool won't, but the opposite will be true for a different group of kids. So that's why we leave you lots of space in your toolkit so you can add your own tools to it, write down, take notes, but that's what your toolkit is for. It's a place to gather all those things and all that information that you want to remember for another time. What are some other things you might need to gather tools for? Some things that you might worry about is fast workers. What do you do with that one child who works way ahead of the other ones? How do you keep them engaged in the lesson when they're already done with the activity? Or what about the student who's sitting and staring out the window and who's bored? Certain activities might not have the same interest for everyone. So what do you do with them to keep them engaged with what they're doing? What if, for some reason, everything you had planned for the day is done and you have 5 more minutes? How do you continue on with the lesson? And what are some strategies you can use to keep the kids entertained and even more so to keep them learning or to keep them on topic? And what about the one student in your class who really wants to talk? And they're not talking to be disruptive, but they just really want to talk and share what they know. What are some tools to help them stay together with the group and not be distracting? So those are some things that you might want to gather tools for, and there are lots of others as well. So where do we find these tools? We've started you out with some in your toolkit for Reckoning. Other resources would be your trainers and your coaches. Ask a lot of questions. They have a lot of experience, and that's one of the reasons why they're here. They're here to help you and to help you gather some of these tools. Look at your peers and talk with your peers. Everybody's personalities are different, and they tend to lend themselves to certain tools or strategies. Sometimes those strategies can be helpful to you, and they may not be something you would naturally think of. Web searches are fantastic for discovering tools. If you have an issue or if you want some ideas, sometimes just typing things in will bring up a whole list of ideas and tools that you might want to try, or you might just want to hold on in case that situation arises. Another thing, honestly, is just out and about. If you just notice different people working with kids, sometimes I can gather great tools and ideas just by watching parents interacting with kids in the street or at the park. So there's lots of places to gather your tools. So I hope this has been a helpful introduction to your Reckoning Toolkit. Good luck filling it up.